What's up guys, my name is Ace, and today I've got a fairly quick video for you guys, just letting you guys know about an apparent hidden update to the Swarm Killstreak in Modern Warfare 3. This is something that has definitely changed at some point between January 6th and today, so it could have happened at any time over the past couple months. I don't recall seeing this anywhere in any patch notes, so I believe this was just a hidden change and a hidden buff to the Swarm streak. And the reason I have no idea when this actually changed is I don't really see swarms all that often. However, within the past week or so, I did have a swarm called in against my team, and I was noticing it was getting a ton of kills, which is strange because when I made a video on January 6th breaking down the kill streaks and basically showing how they were too weak, the swarm was not in a good place. And just a little recap of that from that video on January 6th, what I discovered at that time is, against a swarm, all you had to do was continually move at least 4.9 meters per second, which happens to be the sprint speed of the MWIII 7.62, which is a very slow-moving LMG. It's the slowest sprint speed in the LMG category, and yet that was the only thing you needed to do to counter the highest streak in the entire game, even on an open map like Wasteland. Now, if you ended up stopping for a bit too long and then trying to sprint again, then you'd get killed, as you see toward the end of this clip. But as long as you didn't stop sprinting with that LMG, you would survive the swarm because it appeared to lock onto the position you were in at the time that it starts dive bombing, rather than your character model itself, and therefore it's just targeting that point on the ground, and 4.9 meters per second was enough to outrun that. Now, after seeing that one streak go off in a game, and also noticing that I couldn't just outrun it, I decided to go back and do the testing with this, and this time, I'm using the Core 45 pistol in my hand, and I'm sprinting. And this has a sprint speed of 5.9 meters per second, so significantly faster than the MWIII LMG. And yet, as you can see here, that's not nearly enough to keep me safe. I die over and over and over again to this streak. And therefore, it is obvious that this has been buffed at some point, and the swarm should be significantly stronger now than it was a couple of months ago. Now, watching the kill cam to this, it still appears that the swarm doesn't necessarily lock onto the character model, and instead it's locking onto a point on the ground. I believe it's just dive bombing significantly faster now, so you just can't outrun that explosion like you could before they ended up buffing this. And for me, this is excellent to see, and I think I'm actually going to start popping the swarm on a little more often. I've been avoiding it for a long time, simply because the power of it definitely wasn't worth the amount of effort and cost to earn it, at least before they updated this. Now it is looking quite a bit better. And with that, since we are on the topic of a higher end streak that ended up seeing a buff, I thought it'd be a good time to bring up some feedback again regarding the higher end streak balance in this game, because it was not only the swarm that I felt was quite weak, it's also some of the higher end streaks like the chopper gunner, for instance. This one in particular, I just find is way too easy to shoot down. And so I just wanted to restate some of the feedback that I've already provided in the past. But the first issue I have with streaks like the Chopper Gunner, and some others as well, like the VTOL or the Overwatch Helo, is the fact that it seems like our base bullet damage, when we're not even using any ammo type or any sort of specific setup to counter streaks, it seems like base bullet damage is just a little too high in the game's current state. More often than not, if somebody calls in an Overwatch Helo or a Chopper Gunner against my team, all it takes is like 2 people on that team to just look up and start shooting at that streak with whatever gun happens to be in their hands, and that will often take that streak out very, very quickly, which I find to be just a little bit frustrating when you work hard to earn that streak and it just gets shot down by people that aren't even using anything special in order to take that down. So personally, I would like to see a reduction to the base bullet damage that we deal with guns if we're not using a specific ammo type that's designed to increase damage against vehicles, like incendiary rounds or armor-piercing rounds. I believe the mono rounds as well are meant to increase bullet damage against streaks, but in my testing, they weren't really good for that. In my opinion, this is a far more fair balancing against streaks, and it would encourage people to actually switch over to a specific class setup, or just switch over an attachment so they swap over to that ammo type in order to counter the streak that I earned, rather than just being able to effectively counter that with whatever happens to be in their hand in that given moment. So that's the first bit of feedback that I've got, but another bit of feedback that I have provided in the past, and I just wanted to bring up again, is a rework to the spawn protection. And you might be wondering, what spawn protection? We don't have that in Call of Duty. And we do, but it only works against kill streaks. This doesn't work against an enemy shooting you. I'm sure many of you guys, especially those that play on small map playlists, you already know that spawn protection against players doesn't exist. But against streaks, currently there is a 4-second spawn protection. So for 4 seconds, that streak can't target you, and also you're effectively immune to the damage from those streaks within that 4 seconds. And like I said in the past, I think 4 seconds of spawn protection against streaks is totally fair. That gives you an opportunity coming off spawn to at least try to make a break for cover and do something without just getting immediately lit up and dying the moment you hit the respawn button. So I'm actually totally fine with spawn protection existing. I think it's a good thing that it's in the game. However, the one big problem that I have, and the one frustrating thing to deal with if you're using something like a chopper gunner, is you can be lighting somebody up as they spawn in, but with how fast you're able to shoot down a streak like a chopper gunner with a Bruin Mark 9 with incendiary rounds, for instance, this actually takes less than 4 seconds for that player to shoot you down. And therefore, for that 4 seconds, you can be blasting away at that player as they blast away at you, and they will win that 1v1 fight against your chopper gunner. To me, that just doesn't feel quite right. I think if they're dealing damage to you, you should be able to deal damage to them. And as a result, I'd love to see spawn protection disabled the moment you fire your gun, or if possible, just make it so that spawn protection disables the moment they deal damage to that streak itself. That seems a lot more fair and balanced to me, so if you want to make a break for cover, you've got that spawn protection for 4 seconds. If you want to start shooting at the streak though, well, that streak can now shoot back at you and deal damage to you. I think that would also encourage people to actually use launchers to take down streaks, because that's something I've noticed with this game. That's like one of the worst way to shoot down most streaks in this game, is using a launcher. You're far better off just shooting it with a gun. Whereas if we had a system like this, where that spawn protection doesn't disable till you fire your shots, well, then you have that spawn protection for long enough to lock on with your launcher and get that shot off before that streak is able to shoot you. So again, this isn't any new feedback or anything. I provided this exact same feedback a couple months back. And while it's not a game breaker by any means, it's just one of those little things that I think could go a long way. And then just one last note here, when we're talking about high-end streaks, something I've been noticing a lot of people post about is getting kicked for inactivity while controlling a kill streak. Most notably the gunship. This appears to happen quite often with a gunship. I really hope they can fix that. It should be impossible for you to be kicked from the game for inactivity if you're actively controlling a kill streak in the game. And it's obviously frustrating to get kicked from a match when you're actively playing the game and you're just using a kill streak. So there we go. That's going to wrap it up for today's video. Just wanted to keep you guys updated on the fact that that swarm streak is now significantly more powerful than it once was, and you may want to give it a shot again if you're someone that's capable of earning those higher end streaks. And with this, I'm really curious to hear from you guys in those comments down below. First off, how do you guys feel about this swarm buff, so you can no longer just simply outrun it with an LMG in your hands, and you'll actually have to switch over to hijacked IFF strobe if you want to counter the highest streak in the game? And then on top of that, what are your thoughts on the streak balance in general in this game? Do you agree with some of the suggestions that I've made here, like bullet damage, if you're not using one of those ammo types, shouldn't be quite as powerful, especially against some of the higher end streaks? And is there any other streak feedback that you have? Are there any other streaks that you feel could use a little bit of work, whether that's buffs or nerfs? Just let me know all of those thoughts in those comments down below. If you enjoyed this video, a like rating is always appreciated, and don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.